So now that you guys have seen the movie A Silent Voice and have had time to process it, what did you guys think about the opening sequence and premise of the movie?
Well, the opening sequence with Shoya getting bullied when he was in 6th grade, I think, was awful. Because he was bullied quite a bit by these two boys. One kid with a mullet, like a black-haired mullet, and then another kid. So they were really mean to him and bullying him. And then he turns around and does it to Shoko, the deaf girl in his class. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I just remember Shoya getting bullied back when he was younger, and then he in turn went ahead and was bullying the new girl
The deaf girl.
that was hearing impaired, and so it's kind of a backstory. It's kind of the premise to the movie.
So
And
he
kind of gives you reasoning as to why he torments this girl.
Yes. So he actually bullied that girl first, and then they bullied him afterward.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was confused by the multiple flashbacks in the movie at times.
Yeah, I had a hard time recognizing what was a flashback and then what was present
Right,
day.
yeah. And then it flashed
That's
to when
fair.
they were in 11th grade or 12th grade, so.
Right.
Yeah. It flashes to the end of their high school career towards the latter 3/4 of the movie. Did you think that the characters were well fleshed out in the movie? How did you feel the characters and what they were going through? The main two, I mean.
So I feel like the girl that was hearing impaired, it did a nice job of just kind of depicting what her experience was as in having that hearing impairment, and then just she did her best to communicate on the notebook with other people and that type of thing. And then
But with her, I liked her story because I felt like you knew more of her backstory.
mhm.
With Grandma, the little sister was a big part of the story, whereas I didn't really know Shoya's backstory as much because they really only showed the mom and then that baby.
And it was just kind of interesting because the main character, the main character, was the tormentor in the beginning, and then he tried to kind of redeem himself as the movie went on, after he kind of learned more about maybe just trying to put on her shoes for a minute and realizing maybe how much he affected the hearing impaired girl. And so he was trying to redeem himself.
Yes, one of the major themes of the movie is redemption and how it's almost a movie about cancel culture and how people, like, after making a mistake or, like, after doing an action, kind of just got neglected completely, right? Because then the whole school knew about it, and then even in high school later on in the movie, once they discover it, again, all of his new friends that he made, they neglected him again. So how did you feel, like, do you think that's accurate to today, how people react when people hear things like that from people, even if, like, I mean, that happens, like, what did you guys think? Do you think that happens?
What are you talking about, like the peer pressure?
More like cancel culture and, like, how people kind of, modern day still do this, where they find out a thing about someone's past, and then they bring it into now, even though they've changed, and even if they're different people now.
Absolutely, because I think sometimes your reputation precludes you. So I think that sometimes it's hard to live down a reputation once it's been established, and you almost have to double back and show that you're a different person now. than maybe what your reputation previously said. And so he's kind of fighting two fights, right? He's fighting what the previous version of him was, and he's also fighting just normal challenges as he's going through high school as well.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie has an accurate portrayal of depression?
Well, the part that I didn't like about the portrayal of depression for Shoya was, I don't know that he was doing anything to help himself with his depression.
Well, as we saw in the movie, he was going to kill himself.
Well, I understand that he was going to do that, but as far as to help himself, like I didn't like that there wasn't any type of, like, I mean, I guess he was talking to his friends, but he wasn't really doing anything else to try to help his depression, according to the movie.
So you don't think that him reaching out finally and meeting new people was helping himself at all?
I think that was helping himself, but I don't necessarily know it's that easy for people that are in that deep of a depression. I think they barely struggle to even get up in the day, let alone go and make friends, depending on where they're at in their depression.
I think it did an accurate job of speaking to that, though, the conflict that you experience just internally, in that, you know, you're fighting yourself in a way, in your own thoughts and your own feelings, and then at the same time, if there's anyone you share, like if you're thinking about suicide, if you're thinking about ending your life, you know, research suggests that kids at that age are more likely to let other kids know rather than a responsible adult. So I think it was accurate that way.
That's true.
And that it depicted that, because there was maybe one or two people that knew, and those people were his age in the story. And I think probably the most gripping part of the movie for me was when he saved her life as she was attempting suicide, and she was looking up at him, he was crying, and that was like, I felt my hands sweating and my feet kind of sweating and thinking, okay, this is a really intense moment. And then all of a sudden, like, it looks like he's going to save her, and then he falls, and then you're thinking, well, that's just a crazy turn of events, because, you know, someone is dying by suicide, and it wasn't the person necessarily that was attempting it.
Did you think that Shoya, in the end of the at the end of the movie, once his arc is finished, is in a better place than he was?
It appears so.
I think at the end of the movie he is. It seems like with all the X's going off of the people, off of the kids, all of a sudden he's making connections now. He's engaging people. He makes this promise to himself, I'm going to look at people in their eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a symbol of connecting with people. And all through the movie there were X's on people's eyes throughout the whole thing. That was kind of a symbolism for as they were going through their depressions and as they were closing off and isolating from one another and that type of thing, and being disconnected from people. At the end, all of a sudden, all the X's are coming off of their eyes. He's talking to people more. He discloses to, what's the primary girl's name? The hearing impaired girl. He discloses to her, you know, the truth. He has a voice to what he actually feels. And so for me, that was kind of a big moment for him, because he finally was able to be true to himself, to be honest.
One of the biggest moments in the movie, and one of the biggest turning points, is when they go to the theme park, and he sees his old friend who bullied him, well, his own quote-unquote friend, and like he's having fun with his friends, and then that girl who he kind of hates, she kind of tricks him into interacting with it, and it kind of just destroys the whole mood, and actually sets off later, like literally the same day, the huge fight that happens later in the day when they finally expose that he was the guy who bullied Shoka in the beginning of the movie, in the very beginning, like way years ago at 6th grade. So how did you, like, what did you think about that theme park scene? Did you think that was a well executed scene, and would you say that it's like that, like what were your thoughts on it in general? That theme park scene.
Well, I just thought that was kind of dirty, that girl. I didn't like that.
It was interesting because I thought it was kind of a clash where all of a sudden he's starting to make connections again, it felt like he was kind of on this road to recovery, of finding himself, but then all of a sudden goes right back to where he was with this other character that ends up bullying the hearing impaired girl on the Ferris wheel or whatever ride that was.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so we're taking a couple steps back. So it was kind of this weird, kind of feeling like things are going better, and then all of a sudden they're going right back down again, which I think is a pretty accurate, experience for someone who's feeling depressed.
Yeah, sort of
There's
like
lots
a
of
roller
highs and
coaster.
lows, right?
Sort of like a roller coaster.
Right, roller coaster of emotion.
What did you guys think about how? What did you guys think that Choka's love for Shoya was genuine, or not? Because in the middle of the movie, and it never is really revisited, but in the middle of the movie, she actually confesses.
Yeah.
It is assumed, however, officially that after the movie they do get together. But did you think that in the movie, at least, that was a genuine thing, or was it just kind of an infatuation type of thing? What did you guys think?
Yeah, I remember when she...
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I was kind of surprised that she was saying that she loved him. Because, I mean, he was kind of awful in the past.
Me too.
It wasn't that believable to me.
I didn't believe it. I feel like it was more of an objectification of like what she wanted in a person, more than the actual person itself. So I don't know that she was really in love with him, other than that she was in love with somebody who was maybe seemed to be confident in himself, seemed to be powerful type of thing. Maybe that's what she wanted for herself.
Right.
Kind of that sense of empowerment.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was really in love with him though.
Yeah. And then overall, would you say that this movie does a good job of just conveying the themes and the emotions that it's trying to convey about teen suicide, depression, bullying? I mean, there's a lot going on. It's pretty packed. I mean, there's even a little bit of parental stuff in there with the two different parents. A few questions left unanswered in the movie, especially about Shoya's mom, who had, some issues of her own. But what did you guys think overall of just all the themes? Do you think it was a little bit too much? Did you think that they were all conveyed pretty well? And did you think that the show, or the movie in general, did it have a good kind of lesson? Did it have like a good moral to the story?
I think it was pretty good. I mean, I think that just the fact that it was, anime, and I think that the audience, is it an anime?
It is, yes.
Yeah. That the audience, I think, that watches it, I know adults watch it, but I know that a lot of teenagers watch it, so I think that that's a pretty good target audience to be, presenting those themes.
And I think it's a pretty accurate depiction. Just your mom and I doing what we do. We're in social services. We work with kids day in and day out that are experiencing these feelings. The struggle is real. It's not easy being an adolescent. It's not easy growing up. And depression is something that's not taken lightly. There's ups and downs. There are lots of different
setbacks.
Yeah, there's lots of setbacks. There's lots of gains as you grow and as you mature. And I think they did a good job of just kind of talking about peer pressure, bullying, as we know that both bullies and the victims of being bullied are equally at risk for suicide. So I think they do an accurate job in that, because as we saw both the victim of bullying and we saw the bully both being at risk for suicide in this film. Peer pressure, things like that. These are all normal, natural things that kind of happen, and then how that can negatively influence a person that's in this phase. The only thing I think is that the movie, your mom and I were talking about this a little bit, is I feel like it went a little too long. Like, you could already see this maybe an hour and 15 minutes into the movie. I don't think we needed the full 2 hours to, so I felt like it kind of dragged a little bit the last 45 minutes.
Do you suggest that it
Maybe a
had
little too
been
much.
cut down a little, like maybe less of like the scenic scenes where they like would just look at flowers and like good visuals? Did you like the visuals though? Do you think that it was well animated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the visuals were
thought
pretty
it
good,
was
and the animation
nice.
was okay, and the different scenery and things like that, and the symbolism throughout the movie. Maybe there was too much, or maybe they just could have cut it more out towards the end. I felt like it just kind of dragged there. I was
Yeah,
starting
too
to
much
kinda
of an
lose-
epilogue. Do you think?
Just
Like,
I started losing interest a little bit in the last 45 minutes or so.
okay, that's fair. The last question I have is: if you were Shoya's counselor, how would you help him? If you were in that movie and he decided to go get counseling
Mm-hmm.
instead of try to kill himself, how would you have dealt with that situation? Someone who bullied a deaf girl, and because he felt so bad about that, and was constantly reminded of it, how would you deal with Shoya?
I would try to help him figure out what that's all about. What's the bullying all about? Does it give him a sense of control? Does it give him a sense of feeling power? And is there a different way to do that other than bullying others? And so just trying to figure out what was behind that, and then help him find that sense of power in a different way. It's a little more healthy.
And I think I have one more question. Why do you think Shoka, as a sixth grader, the deaf girl, why do you think that she was so desperate to connect to people? Like, she, even though probably knew that they were bullying her, she said sorry to them over and over again. She kept trying to bend and being walked on, and she was fine with it. She only really showed resistance when she got on the floor and fought Shoya, which then we really saw she was tired of it. So why do you think she did that for so long? Why do you think she put up with it for so long?
Because I think when you're that isolated and that much of a loner, that you'll take whatever you can get sometimes.
And I also think that she has a disability, right? And so you kind of think of it from a lens, her type of lens, where, maybe in a way she's experienced discrimination, or she's experienced alienation because of her disability, her inability to hear. And so for once she wanted to be accepted, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to be accepted in her eyes.
All right. Thank you for answering those questions.